This 10-cent powder triggers the same hunger hormone as a $900 Ozempic injection. And yet most people taking it every single day are losing 0 pounds. It's because they're making one of 8 mistakes that quietly shut down everything this stuff is supposed to do for your fat loss. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 8 most common psyllium husk mistakes, why they're keeping you fat, and exactly how to fix each one so that you can finally get results with it. And make sure you stick around to the end because the 8th mistake is the biggest one of them all. It's a single belief that almost everyone has, and it guarantees failure no matter what else you do right. So to start, I'm going to show you the one mistake on this list that can actually land you in the hospital. Psyllium husk works because it soaks up water, a lot of water. 1 tablespoon can soak up to 50 times its weight in liquid. Drop it in a glass, come back in a few minutes, and you will get a thick gel that holds its shape almost like Jell-O because it soaks up all the water. That gel is the whole point. It's what fills your stomach, presses on the walls, and tells your brain you're full. That fullness is what gets you eating less, which is where your fat loss comes from. But if you don't give it enough water in the glass, it pulls that water from inside of you instead. And instead of a smooth gel, you get a dense, sticky mass that doesn't form right and it doesn't fill you up. So you lose the fullness, you lose the appetite control, and you've basically wasted the dose. And it can also be dangerous. There are documented cases of people swallowing psyllium without enough water and ending up with it stuck in their throat or blocking their gut bad enough to need some kind of emergency intervention. So here's the rule. Every dose goes into at least a full 8-ounce glass of water, and then you drink another full glass right afterwards. Not a few sips, a full glass. Get the water right, and everything else this powder can do actually has a great chance to work. Now, let me show you the mistake that has people swearing psyllium husk does nothing for them, when really they were never taking enough to feel a thing. Walk into any pharmacy and grab a psyllium powder on the shelf. Most of them list 1 serving as about 3.4 grams. That's roughly a teaspoon. Here's the problem. When researchers tested that exact 3.4 gram dose, it did nothing for hunger between meals. No difference from a sugar pill. So if you're following the label and taking 1 teaspoon, you're getting a placebo. You feel nothing and you decide that this stuff doesn't work. When they doubled it to about 6.8 grams, that's when people actually felt fuller. And the dose tied to real fat loss results in the studies is about 10 grams a day. That's about 2 teaspoons a day split before your meals. So most people aren't failing at psyllium. They're just taking half of what it takes to do anything. That gel I told you about only fills your stomach if there's enough of it in there. A teaspoon barely coats the bottom. 2 teaspoons is what actually presses on the stomach walls and shuts your appetite down. Now, you don't jump just straight to that amount on day 1. I'll show you why in a minute. But that's the target that you're building up towards. About 2 teaspoons a day split before your meals. One more thing that trips people up here, brands use different scoops, and a serving in 1 tub is not the same as another. So measure it yourself in teaspoons and ignore the scoop that comes in the package. That way you actually know that you're hitting your dose that does the work. All right, so if 2 teaspoons a day is the target, why not just start there tomorrow morning? Because that's the fastest way to make yourself miserable and quit. Here's what happens. Your gut is home to trillions of bacteria, and they're what break the psyllium husk down. When you suddenly hit them with a big dose of fiber that they're not used to, they go into overdrive and they produce a lot of gas as a byproduct. That's the bloating, the cramping, the gurgling that you feel in the first few days. Most people take that as a sign something's wrong or that they can't handle psyllium. It's the opposite. The discomfort is your gut bacteria waking up and then adjusting to the new fiber that they've been wanting all along. It's the sound of things starting to work. But knowing that doesn't make day 4 feel any better. So the move is to not overwhelm them in the first place. You ramp up slowly and give those bacteria time to catch up. Here's the schedule I'd follow. Week 1, take 1 teaspoon a day before your biggest meal. Week 2, add a 2nd teaspoon before a different meal. And then in week 3 and beyond, you can work up to a dose before each of your main meals. By going slow, you skip most of the bloating, and you're far more likely to be taking it by the time the real results show up. And if you're over 50, take it even slower. Your gut tends to be more sensitive and slower to adjust, so there's no shame in starting at a half a teaspoon and stretching that ramp up over 5 or 6 weeks. Slower isn't weaker here. It's what gets you to the finish line instead of quitting in 1 week. Next, I want to show you the mistake that could be working against you in a way that you never feel, especially if you take any kind of daily medications. Remember that gel that psyllium forms. It doesn't just press on your stomach, it moves through you, it grabs a hold of things in your gut. That's great when it's grabbing cholesterol, for example, and dragging it out, which it helps do. But it can also grab your medication and carry it out before your body can fully absorb it. So you swallow your pill and take your psyllium husk around the same time, you end up getting less of the medication that your doctor intended. The drugs this hits hardest are some of the most common in this audience. Thyroid medication is a big one. If psyllium is blocking some of your thyroid medication, your metabolism slows down, which makes fat loss harder. The exact opposite of what you want to do. It can also interfere with diabetes medication, blood pressure medication, cholesterol drugs, blood thinners. And here's the part most people never hear. The average person over 65 is taking 5 or more of those medications a day. So the odds that at least one of yours is affected are high. The fix is simple though. You just separate them. Take psyllium at least 2 hours before or after your medications, never at the same time for convenience. Thyroid medications needs even more room. I would recommend closer to 4 hours. The easiest way is to anchor it to your meals. Your medications go on their own schedule typically, and your psyllium goes 15 to 30 minutes before you eat, which is, as you'll see, the exact time when you want to be taking it anyway. And before you start, take your full list of medications to your pharmacist, ask about the timing. Pharmacists know these interactions cold. It's a 2-minute conversation that protects everything else that you're doing. Now, this one's really sneaky because you can do everything else right and still sabotage yourself the moment you buy the wrong tub. Walk down the pharmacy aisle and one product dominates the shelf. Metamucil. It's orange, it's sweet, and for a lot of people, it's the only psyllium that they've ever heard of. The problem is what's mixed into it. The regular sweetened version is loaded with added sugar. 2 tablespoons can carry about 16 grams of it. Take that a few times a day, and you're swallowing close to 48 grams of added sugar, roughly a can of soda's worth every single day. Now think about what psyllium is supposed to do. It's supposed to steady your blood sugar and keep your insulin low so that your body burns fat instead of storing it. But sugar spikes your insulin. So you're taking the one thing to calm your blood sugar while pouring sugar in right along with it. You've turned the tool into a trap. And switching to the sugar-free version isn't the clean fix people think it is. Those usually swap in artificial sweeteners, and your body can still react to that sweet taste with a little insulin response before any food even shows up. So here's what you want. Plain psyllium husk or plain psyllium husk powder. Check the label, and the only ingredient should be psyllium husk. No sugar, no flavor, no coloring. It's usually cheaper per serving than the branded stuff, and it does the exact same job without working against you. If the plain taste is rough, stir it into a little water with a squeeze of lemon, or mix it into your plain yogurt. Just be aware it thickens anything that you add it to very quickly, so that yogurt is going to thicken up. The next mistake usually comes from trying to make things easier on yourself, and it can cost you the whole fat loss benefit. Psyllium capsules are everywhere, and I get the appeal. Popping a couple capsules is easier than stirring powder into water. But for fat loss, capsules have 2 problems. The first thing is timing. That gel I keep coming back to has to already be formed in your stomach before food shows up. That's what fills you up and gets you eating less. When you swallow capsules, they have to break down first, and the psyllium inside is barely starting to expand by the time your meal arrives. You miss that window where it does its job. The second problem is the dose. A typical capsule holds about 500 milligrams of psyllium. To hit just one effective pre-meal dose, you'd have to take around 10 of them. 3 doses a day, you're swallowing 30 capsules. No one does that. Most people take 2 or 3, get maybe a gram, and that's nowhere near enough to feel anything. So for fat loss, you want the powder. Mix about 1 to 2 tablespoons into a glass of water, stir it, and drink it within about 30 seconds. Don't let it sit, because it thickens into a gel right there in the glass, and it turns into something you have to choke down. So mix it, drink it fast, and then chase it with another full glass of water. That is always a must. So let's say you've got everything right. The dose, the water, the timing, the powder. You're still going to be tempted to quit, because psyllium doesn't work on the timeline people expect. We want results in 72 hours, but this works on a slower clock. Here's what actually happens underneath week by week. The fullness kicks in right away, as soon as your dose and timing are right. Around 2 weeks, your gut bacteria is starting to shift in your favor. And then over the next month or 2, your blood sugar starts to steady out. And the changes on the scale and around your waist show up later. In the studies, those who took it 4 to 5 months is when they really started to see the weight loss benefits. A few months in, your pants start to get looser. That's the whole journey. It's invisible until it isn't. This is why I tell people to give it 90 days minimum before you decide anything. And really 6 months is where you want to see the full picture at. One more thing to know though, these benefits aren't permanent. When you stop, your appetite creeps back up within days. So treat psyllium like a daily habit, not a 30-day challenge. All right, this is the big one. The mistake I save for last, because it's the belief that guarantees failure no matter what else you get right. Most people start psyllium thinking it burns fat. It doesn't. It doesn't melt fat. It doesn't block calories. It doesn't speed up your metabolism. And the moment you understand that, this whole thing finally starts working for you. Here's why. When you believe the powder is doing the work, you stop doing the work. You take your dose, feel a little full, then eat the same way you always did. Or you eat more because you figured you've earned it. So nothing changes. And then you blame the psyllium. But the psyllium was never the thing that burns fat. It's the thing that helps you do what burns fat. It kills your appetite, so you eat less. It steadies your blood sugar, so you're not crashing and raiding the pantry an hour later. That's the whole game. It makes eating less feel easy instead of feeling like a fight. And when you see it that way, the numbers are actually impressive. That fullness alone has people eating a few hundred calories less a day without trying. Stretch that over a month, and you're looking at a pound or 2 of fat gone just from being less hungry. Add in the steadier blood sugar and the better insulin response over time, and for someone over 50 using it right alongside a few reasonable lifestyle changes, you're realistically looking at 13 to 19 pounds over a stretch of 6 months. Now, that's not like a proven guaranteed number. When you add up the math of a couple hundred fewer calories per day, that's what it can start equating to over a 6-month or a 12-month period of time. But that's real fat loss from a 10-cent scoop of fiber with no shot or no prescription. So stop waiting for the powder to do the work. Use it as the tool that makes the work easy and it pays you back. Now, there's actually one more mistake, and it might be the most important of all, because you can get all of these 8 right and still come up short if you take psyllium at the wrong time of day. In fact, the wrong timing can cut psyllium's fat loss power by as much as 60%. So I made another video where I walk you through the different times that you can take Psyllium Husk and how to figure out which one is the best for you and your fat loss. I even share a timing trick on top of that almost no one knows about. I'll put it on the screen right here. Click to watch it next, and I'll see you there.